Shalom. My name is Yehonatan Ben Devoy. This is video 2 of Avodah zarah. Basically, in the last video, we discussed that what Avodah zarah actually is, that it's basically adding and diminishing. Now, we're going to make things a little bit more, even much more harder. For those that are, we're going to make things even much more difficult. When it comes to, what some people would ask, what about Orthodox Judaism? Why is it that they feel the need to add or diminish? Well, let's get into that, all right? For this one, I'm going to read you a sentence that isn't exactly translated adequately in English, or doesn't exactly convey the right idea. And I'll explain why when we, with this book, Biblical Hebrew Syntax, all right? Exodus 18:16, when they have a matter, they come to me, and I judge between one and another. And I do make known the statutes of God and his laws. So, some people, they get the idea that what Moses was doing was he was officiating court cases for people who did things wrong. That is not what the Hebrew says. So, let me explain. This is the Hebrew right here, essentially. Gosh, the quality of this camera is very bad at this point in time. Hang on. Anyways, yeah, that ought to be a little bit better. Ki yihye lehem davar bo alev. Okay, so for those that know Hebrew and those that don't, yihye is the word to exist. It's this word, haya. It basically means to come about, to exist. Basically, it just means to exist in a frame of, in actions or whatever. Like, say, for instance, something were to come about in the existence of time. Or say something were to come about. Or say the events were to come about. Well, it's third person, masculine, singular. Make note about that. The yod right there makes it third person, masculine, singular. But it has this line with this phrase right here with this prefix, lamed, and this third person plural, possessive. Now, let me explain why this matters, okay? In biblical Hebrew syntax, attributive. The genitive denotes a quality or attributive of the construct. In translation, the genitive often becomes an adjective. The man of worth, or the valorous man. Judgment, or Judges 11:1. Eshit chayil, a woman of worth, is one method of translation. Or a valorous woman. Basically, chayal is the adjective of ishit. So, it's basically illustrating the acts, or the attributes of this woman. That's what a adjective ultimately means. So, right here, because of this line, something is this right here, this word, haya, is an adjective. for lehem. Ultimately, what it's signifying is that something, an event, if you will, is coming about to a group. One singular event is happening to a group, and we can see it represented right here in this word davar, all right? But I want you to make note that this is third person masculine singular, and this is third person plural, all right? So a singular event is coming about to a group in that regard. But right here, the word bow, it is singular. They are, in order for biblical Hebrew, for all of them to show that they are coming together as a, what was it called? As a group, this would have to be in the plural, not the singular. All right? Instead, what it's signifying is that one person out of the group is approaching Moses. All right? And we can see this reflected right here in verse 14. Moses' father-in-law saw that he did to the people. He said, what is this thing that you do to the people, that you sittest by yourself and stand thee from morning until evening? The fact is, he's standing there from morning until evening, and the reasoning why he is because it's taken him a very long time, for crying out loud. So he's going from morning until evening, so one person is going to this. Now, the reasoning why I'm highlighting this is because if it's just one person, then it's not a court case. All right? It's just not. And here's why. Deuteronomy chapter 19 tells you that in order for a court case to occur, there has to be 2 to 3 witnesses. So it would have to be conveyed in the plural. The word bow would have to be in the plural. Ultimately, it's not. So he's making rulings for the group in the Hebrew. All right? He's making rulings for the group per person, essentially. And that word, judgment, is sort of a misnomer. Some people like to say that it only is indicative of a court case. It's not. In fact, the word shafat is used primarily of someone who is giving of prophets who judge, or even kings that judge. In fact, a great representation is 1 Samuel, Judges chapter 5. Chapter 4. Deborah, a prophetess. So she is a prophetess. She judged Israel. It's the same word. Well, she's a prophetess. She's not a judge. The fact is, the only thing that people say that she was a judge is because of that verb or whatever. It doesn't say she was the noun judge. So she was a prophetess judging Israel. That's all she was. In fact, that same word was used for kings who judged Israel. The word mishpat, in that regard, was used in Exodus chapter 21. These are the mishpatim that you will set before them. And they delineate situational things with which you will do the Torah. So that's how we know that there are judgments that are enacted into the Torah, that the judges have free rein to cause them to come about. In fact, if you read all throughout the Torah, there are times when the Torah just doesn't make conflicts with itself. That's where you need a judge. A great representation is, I have seen people translate the word wife as a, what was it called, as a woman. It's not, all right? If you translate the word wife as woman, then ultimately, if you just have sex with a woman in that regard, then she's your woman. But what determines adultery then? Adultery, according to Leviticus chapter 19, is not stated right here in verse 20. Whosoever lieth carnally with a woman that is a bondmaid, but is not redeemed, she is, nor her freedom given to her, she is scourged. She is not put to death, because she was not set free. Well, this conflicts with the command to commit adultery. Because the male who has sex with a supposed woman, I mean, is this not a woman? So, automatically, there's two sets of women. And you won't find a single commandment illustrating that this is how you make a bondwoman. So, how do you determine that? How do you determine wife from bondmaid? I rest my case. I sure hope this study has blessed you. Well, okay, the reasoning why that this matters ultimately is because the judges have that right to create those decrees and enact them into the Torah. In fact, right here in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 13, it was the priest's custom. The word for custom is mishpat. When a man offered the sacrifice, the priest's servant came while flesh was seething with a flesh hook, a tenth in thine hand. Well, you won't find that anywhere inside of the written law. So how is it that these priests were able to enact that? Were enabled to set that up? It's very simple, really. They had the authority to enact that. They had that authority to enact that. So therefore, when it comes to the judicial decrees, they had the authority to make things concrete. In fact, like the command to commit idolatry. You won't find a single commandment anywhere in the Torah that says this is what idolatry is. So how do you determine that? Well, the Mishnah is those judicial decrees. The Mishnah is those judicial decrees by which a person knows that they are in idolatry or whatever. You need those in order to determine what these things are. And if you don't have those, then the Torah is just the Wild West. People do that which is right in their own sight. I don't think that's right. I don't think that is determined upon us. I think that it has to be determined only specifically through what it was in the first century or during the days of Moses. And it requires a judge who is educated enough to do that. All right? I sure hope this study has blessed you. May you test this study to show thyself approved.